Hello my lovelies and welcome to Colours of Nature Art, and yes, it's Dephemerember again. It's come round so fast, hasn't it? So today I'm actually going to put down my silicone mat, but because my art studio is actually quite small, I can't really film in there, which is a bit of a shame, because it would be nice to actually take everybody along as I go through making things, but it's too small. I can't set up my overhead camera rig in there, so I create my Dephemerember pieces in the art studio and then I film in my lounge. I've got better lighting and I've got an overhead camera mount with my Canon camera on it. So that means that basically I can show you the early stage of making something, the middle stage, the finished piece, and the supplies I used, and hopefully tips for recreating the project. Anyway, that's the idea. So it's not a step-by-step real-time tutorial, it's more of a sort of friendly, cozy, here's how I did it and here's how you can too, and I hope you enjoy the format. So the first, I mustn't put that away just yet. We've got day one, page tab and moth-eaten lace. Right, well, the story behind this was that it all started when Katie Country Mouse came to see me, and if you haven't met her before, here she is. Now this is Katie from last year, and she's reading out her secret poem. So back to the present, Katie arrived in an awful fluster because her best tablecloth had been absolutely ruined, covered in moth holes. And she said she didn't want it to go to waste and thought we could cut it up and use it to make page tabs. So I understand from what she told me that she's going to the market tomorrow to buy a new tablecloth because apparently she's a special visitor coming later this month, and I have a seeking suspicion that it might be Effie again. But we should just have to wait and see. Now, I started off with what I thought was going to be a really good idea. I'd got this box top, so pretty. I thought I've got to use this for something. And then when I looked sort of at this bit, I thought, well, I've got an almost ready-made tab there. So I chopped a little bit off there, folded it in half, but it is it's almost solid. You couldn't have that as a page tab. It's really too thick. So that idea was ditched. So out with that and in with my box of bits and pieces. And really this is sort of where I start a lot of things, looking in one of my boxes. I mean, that could make a nice page tab if we cut that off and then you fold it. So that could be quite pretty, so we'll take that out. That is also something that I could use. I've got a piece of paper. Imagine that was just put in there. This was just off packaging. I think these were some stickers. Yeah, pretty stickers. But that's rather nice because you could have it sort of a bit like that, and you've got this fancy edge. In fact, you could take I think I'll do that. I can take a template of that and then recreate it. And of course, you can paint over that, and I'd probably paint something floral or butterflies or something on that. So that's another good, useful bits and pieces from my box. That almost looks like a page tab already, doesn't it? What else have we got? Oh, now that is something that I actually used, a bit of this, which I'll show you in a minute. And really, this is where the best place to start off. If you've got scraps and a box with all sorts of bits and pieces. That's a material one, that's quite nice. I didn't know I got that in there. You find all sorts of things sort of going back 2, 3, 4 years in my case. So you do build up quite a sort of a stash of different things. So that's where I started off in my bits and pieces box. So pop those back in there. And from there, I don't know where to put my box. I'm running out of room already. Right, from there I progressed to doing these, which were some little bits, which were all quite boring so far. Although I was quite pleased with the way these turned out once I'd cut the shape, and they start to look, you see, that really doesn't look like a tab, does it? And that was another one. So once you get that tab shape, I should have brought something better in to show you to try them on. I've just got a boring piece of paper. But you can get the idea. That's a good page tab for a top page tab. Turn it round and you've got a nice side tab. But of course that wasn't the whole brief, was it? Making tabs. It was actually to make something using up some lace. Well, I started off with the lace side of it. Let's pop those up there for now. That one doesn't really go, no. I like things to match. So I started off, I got this lovely lace. It's sort of lilac, very pale lilac lace. And I thought, right, well, I've just got to distress that and make some holes in it. And I found some of the best ways of doing it is with one of these, an unpicker, a dressmaking sort of unpicker. Better than scissors, because scissors you just get holes, but whereas with that you can get a really nice tear to things. Talk about ripping up perfectly good lace, all for art. Can't really see it, it's not showing on the camera. I've got a hole there. So that was the idea. I cut up quite a bit of lace, and then I came up with this. I think I'm going to have to bring the camera in a bit actually, because I think you're a bit far away. See? Is the camera going to focus on that? Oh, camera, don't do that to me today. Come on. It's been a bit of a day so far. Well, as you may have guessed, the camera did do that to me yesterday, and the lighting went, the focus disappeared, and then several other things decided to conspire against me behind the scenes. And I know that this year's topic for Dephemerember is compartmental making, but honestly, I didn't mean for my filming equipment to take that literally, because I really wasn't planning to film the daily prompts in several different compartments. But hey ho, it's now the next day, so I will finish with a little bit more on the tabs, and then because I'm now so far behind everyone else, I'm going to go straight on in this video to the next prompt, which is the floating pockets. So I hope you'll stay with me to the end and see what I did for those. But quickly back to the tabs. Now what I did find was the type of lace actually made a difference for this particular prompt. And I started off with this, but as you can see, look at the stretch on that. It is, oh, it just didn't work. It really didn't. I had a pretty picture. I was going to sort of cut that into a tab shape. I made some holes in the lace, which wasn't too bad, and then I thought I'll put that over there so we just get a little flower peeping through. But this lace, however I tried to lay it and glue it, it just didn't work, so had to ditch that. So then I found some better lace, which was this, which is very, very thin, very gentle, lovely lace. And I don't know if you can see if I get it the right way up, but that's the way up. That is actually part of a spider's web. So it's very, very pretty lace, and it did work beautifully for doing these tabs. And that was a little one I made from that particular lace. Don't know whether my camera is going to behave. If not, we are going to have words. Yes, bit blurry. Put that aside. So, the thing that I did want to mention, when I made these, I needed something on them that was, although it had the lace, it needed just a little bit more sort of scruffiness to it, if you know what I mean. Sort of a bit more tatty. And I looked everywhere for some lilac coloured cotton. I was sure I'd got some, but apparently not. It had vanished, and I put some cotton on there. So what you can do if you want to use coloured cotton in your projects, and you haven't got anything that's suitable, you can, I'll show you a way around that. So you're probably going to have some white cotton, which I did try the white cotton on there, but it sort of lacked a certain something. But anyway, if you've got the white cotton, you put that to one side and you can ink it. Now the easiest way I've found of inking it is to use a small finger sponge like that. Put your cotton there and then pop that down on there and then pull the cotton through. Don't know if you can see, is that coming out? And from time to time you might have to stop and pull a bit more depending on what you want. Doing it this way is actually quite nice, and I don't know if this is going to show in the camera, but you get a sort of an ombre graded effect on the cotton. But you can go as strong in colour as you want. I mean, the one I'm using here, this is lovely Villainous Potion. And just pull it through for as much as you want. And you don't have to use the distress inks, whatever inks you have got. And remember though that if you're using the distress inks at all, you are going to have to be careful to keep it away from water, otherwise that's all going to run and go pretty horrible. But you can do that if you want with archive inks, and then you would be fine. But it's all right just getting a little bit of glue on it, and that worked quite well for these little ones here. Now, was there anything else I wanted to show you? Because I am still all put off from yesterday. I haven't recovered. Oh yes, the only other thing I tried, which I found quite interesting. After watching Louisa's video, because I didn't watch that until I'd started on all this, and you might have seen that she stiffened some of the lace with a mix of water and white glue. And you can also make the same mixture with matte, medium, whichever you happen to have on your table at the time. So I tried that, and that was really, it does work, because that has got much more sort of stiffness to it, and it does sit much better on top of card. It's not so floppy, much better. And I was going to make some more tabs, but this is compartmental making, isn't it? So I can get away with not quite finishing the project, can't I? Yeah, I hope. But I did make some of these, and again it was just using this spider lace, and I used, what did I use? Scorched timber, distressing scorched timber to make these. Now this one was interesting. Look, it just almost like a natural leaf shape. So I shan't use those on tags, but I'm going to use them for something else, because I think they go a lot with the sort of a lot of the themes that I do, sort of forest and woodlands and nature. So there we are. I will just clear the decks, and then I'll be back with the floating pockets and large numbers. See you in a bit. Well, I've just cleared the decks, and I found this left behind, and this is the one that little Katie Country Mouse made, if that's going to focus. Yes, she made that one from her damaged tablecloth, so I promised I'd show you. I'm just wondering whether a little ribbon might go on top. Not sure, but that would look. She has made a nice little tab though. Look, that's going to stay. There we go. Right, so put all the tabs away. So my lovelies, on to floating pockets. Now that was one of my finished results, and I think I did another one here. So I thought if I show you a couple of finished ones, I've got a few more to show you in a minute, but I thought perhaps we could make one and I'll show you what I did. I was quite pleased with that actually, which is quite interesting with this compartmental making, because I tend to, if I need something, any ephemera, I tend to just make it from scratch each time, which is quite sort of time consuming. And anyway, so I made that to go in one of the pockets, and I thought, oh, I quite like that, and it sort of made me feel, oh, I need to create some more along a similar line. But I think she goes in there quite well. And then this one is a double-sided floating pocket, so let's pop her in there. I think she goes quite well in there. And the large floating pockets with large numbers, so I made some numbers out of flowers just to go with this theme. I've also made a more grungy one, which I'll show you in a minute, but these are my pretties to start with. And you can see there we've got one pocket and two pockets, and it's double-sided, so that you can turn them all over on the back. So let's put that all to one side for a minute, and I'll get out my other bits that I've got here. That was the paper I used to make the sweet pea ones, and that is, I don't know if I need to come out a bit, there you go. That's one of my digital printables. Somebody said to me the other day, why don't I have an Etsy shop? And I thought, well, I'm not really very entrepreneurial really, but I suppose, and then I sort of think, well, would anybody want to buy them? I don't know. What do you think? It would be a good way actually to try to make my old age pension go a bit further, wouldn't it? So this is the one we're working on at the moment, and all I did for this, so right, I've got bits and pieces falling all over the place here. We'd started off with a piece that size, so that was the A4 size, and all I did, I just cut it in half, this piece, cut it in half, so I ended up with this. Then I made myself a template, which I think is always a good idea if you find something that works, because otherwise you'll never remember how you did it, or at least I don't. So we've got that piece there, and then I made myself 3 templates because this comes in 3 parts. We've got the main pocket there, then we've got this pocket here, and that one I've actually just realised I did 3 pockets. I think the other one was only 2. Yeah, there we go. That's 2 pockets and that's 3 pockets, but the principle is exactly the same. So as I say, it's in 3 parts. You've got the main part, you've got your floating pocket, and then you've got your other pocket that goes on top of there. So it's so simple making these pockets, but they're quite effective, I think. And for those of you, I don't measure anything. I just sort of chop things up and hope for the best. But for those of you who are more precise than me, I will tell you what size I used, what this was. So 17.5 centimeters, which is 7 inches more or less, and that way it is 10.5 centimeters or 4 and a bit inches. But it really doesn't matter too much either way, and this floating pocket size was just made to go into an A5 size journal, so that's really what it's made for. But you can just use this principle and use it to just fit whatever you're making. Right, as I say, I don't measure anything. Perhaps I should. So that's my way of doing that. So we cut that piece. So now we've got a main part. Then you can use the piece you chopped off. The reason I made a template for that, so that we get the right size. I think that's prettiest that way round. Okay. And you can keep all these little tiny bits, because we make snippets out of those, so that's not wasted. Probably even I wouldn't use that bit, so that can go. Another thing falls on the floor. So there we've got, that's going to be sort of the first pocket on there, and then we want a little pocket, so we can use a piece of this. Now what would look nice on there, I only printed this one way. That would be nice. Let's have a, if I do this, we've got a little blue flower. So I'm so used to doing this in my art studio, and I've had to bring stuff all into the lounge, so I'm all sort of working from a very strange position. So I'm standing up and I haven't got all my bits and pieces around me. It's quite disorientating. There you go. That shows that's not straight. Although I don't bother to measure stuff very much, I still like things to fit. So there we go. We've got all the different components now for this. That doesn't fit, does it? I have two choices. I can either cut that. That's going to be the quickest thing. Let's do that. I told you I'm all disorientated not being in my art studio. Oh, I wish I could have you all in there with me. We could have so much fun in there, but there's just no room to do any of the filming. That's the problem. Right, so now we've got a pocket 1, pocket 2 and the top. The only thing left to do now with the top bit is we're just going to fold that over, and this is why you want double-sided. So even if you're not going to be doing a double-sided pocket where you're going to see the back, you do at least need something coloured up the top. Or if you had that white, if it was just plain white paper, you can always decorate it. There's always ways around it in art journaling. Okay, pop that like that. By the time Dephemerember is over, I'm probably going to be extremely organised with all this. But there we go, it'll be a bit late, won't it? So what am I doing here? I'm going to ink it. We'll ink round the edges as the last bit, and I'll show you why in a minute. So I'm actually going to use some scorched timber. I like scorched timber. I mean, you could use any colour that you want really, but this is nice because you don't always want something as light as, say, vintage photo, or as dark as black. And if you're using the distress inks, you know, you don't always want to use black soot. But scorched timber is just that little bit not quite black, and it goes very well with anything that you're doing that's vintagey. Also goes very well with grungy things. I've got a grungy one to show you in a minute that I did. So we go all around those edges. I shall leave that bit because we do that bit last. Now I've got to concentrate, haven't I? Right, that's that bit of inking. Pop that over there. Not quite sure where I'm going to put my number 5 yet, but we'll see. So which way around am I doing that? Right. So just put my glue pot there. It's pretty. I like my glue pot. That's the correct way around. And that's the top bit, so that we've got the flowers not upside down. You could get away with it actually with this print, but yeah, these are from my Enchanted Garden series, and I'm just sort of starting to do an Enchanted Garden journal. But I've still got to film my grungy forest journal yet, that I have completed, which was great. Now I'm just going to ink. I'll try to get things in camera. I'm just not used to doing this on the camera. This is just that inside flap that you saw, because once you've stuck this down, you can't ink the edge. I just must try. I'm doing this at a very strange. Oh, it's going ever so wibbly wobbly. That's because I'm doing it at a funny angle. So, as I say, please forgive all the sort of all over the place. I should get used to it, as I say, by the end of that's wobbly. So that's one part of a pocket, as we're compartmentalizing. So that is a sort of beginning of a pocket. And now I'll show you what else you can do with using vellum to make part of the pockets. And by the way, I'm sitting down now, and I think it makes a difference. I come to the conclusion I can't do crafts and art standing up. Mind you, we'll see. So let's just make another one of these. There's my full-sized, that's A4, which is, I think, just a little bit larger than letter size in the US. Double-sided, both sides. So let's fold that in half. Oh my goodness, sitting down makes such a difference. It affects my brain, you know, standing up and trying to craft. I do hope though that this is in camera, because it's difficult. I'm trying to look at the screen to make sure that I'm still in camera, and at the same time cut a straight line. There we are. Which is the pretty? Oh, I like them both really. Well, I can still use both. I've already cut out some vellum pockets, but I just need to make sure. Which bit shall we have? Oh, decisions. That is going to be quite pretty. And then we've got to remember we're folding the top over. So same thing. And you're making this a bit bigger so you can fold the top over. There we go. And we'll put that to one side because we don't need that for this one. So we're just going to fold the top over like that. There you go. You see, that's all nice and straight. Moral of this is, don't try to do things like this standing up. And as I said before, we do this just so that once you've stuck it down, you can't get to that inner edge. There we go. Just remember to put the top back on my scorched timber. Because I haven't had time to do any of this for quite a long time, a lot of my inks, my distress inks, all sort of dried up. You can get them going again with either some water squirted on them, or you can get a special rejuvenating spray that helps. Or of course you can just use the ink to re-ink them, one of the re-inkers. So put that to one side, and then in this one, as I say, we're going to put vellum pockets, and I just put a little printed stamp on there. But I realised with this one, by the time, that's so pretty and I absolutely love that stamp, but by the time we've got that on and then we've got the pocket on top, I suppose you sort of see it, but it spoils it, doesn't it? So for that I cut out just an ordinary piece of vellum, and I used the template that we used to start with. So that is that goes on there, and then I just put a little bird on there. And then the other thing we can do with this, we can either put something up there. I think that doesn't really go, does it? Or we can put something there that balances the bird. Well, that looks quite pretty. And then I've just thought there was something else I was going to do with that, and just a minute, I've got to go and get something from the art studio. I knew there'd be something I didn't bring in. Just a minute and I'll be back. I'm back, and I brought in my gesso. I will stick those down in a minute, but or shall I stick them now? Let's stick this down. Oh, I can't get over how different it is sitting down. As I say, I am very precariously perched on a rather wobbly stool, but fingers crossed I shall stay on it. There we go. You will find with some of these, if you use the vellum, it takes a bit longer to stick and it can curl up. I've got one to show you in a minute and you'll see what I mean. We might as well stick this little rose on. Pop you there. Not sure that it needs that. Oh, I've stuck it now. The reason I brought my gesso in, if I can get the top off, there we are. As you can see, it's a very well used jar of gesso, and the one I use is Winsor & Newton, but Liquitex do a good gesso. But I'm just going to stick my finger in that and knock back some of this, because it can be a bit, this sort of just distresses things a bit more. Did I do the back of that? No, I didn't. This will show up a bit clearer on this actually. It just takes away some of the brightness, and also the texture and the shape of the gesso just adds a little bit of interest. There you go, and that's not all so bright as it was. Done. So I shall leave that to stick a bit more. And of course I forgot to bring in a baby wipe as well, didn't I? Yes. Oh, it's all happening today. Honestly, what with yesterday's filming and now today. Oh dear. I do hope it hasn't put you off my channel. We do our best. Right, there we go. Excuse the gesso fingers. I just wanted to show you. Oh, I've got a floating 3 here. I think that wanted to go on something. So because it's big numbers, and you've got to have the big numbers, or we could put it on the back of there, but sort of mix and match. I tell you what some of this is. It's because I had all this mix up the other day with the camera, And then there's been a lot of other problems going on that I've had to solve on my own, and I'm just not thinking straight. So the numbers, which are a huge part of it, was a sort of an afterthought really. But there we go. I've confessed now. So I have made another couple that I'll just quickly show you. Put those out of the way. I did one more of this. Now can I reach the camera without falling off the stool? There we go. That's not too bad, is it? So this was a finished one, because the others, as we're compartmentalizing, I have a good excuse for all those like this one that still need to be completed. So lets me off the hook, doesn't it? So pop things in there, little journaling cards. Do I want that front or behind? I think I want it there so that we can still see the flowers. And we can pop a little taggy thing in there, and that's your floating pocket. So my grungy one that I did is here. This is my grungy one. I love this one. And in fact I ended up making this really quite late at night, and I thought to myself, you can imagine somebody sort of says, oh, what were you doing last night? Oh, I was just whipping up an industrial floating pocket, as you do. Yes, it's a strange world, isn't it, junk journaling? But I was quite pleased with that. And I made a little journaling card to go in the pocket. But I think I'd like to make several more of those, which again is what is really good with the compartmental making side of it. So I think, have I almost finished? Oh, just one other thing to show you of a good use of where you can put floating pockets. Now I'm going to have to come out again, aren't I? No, wrong direction. There we go, that's better. This is not a finished journal. In fact, it's hardly started, but it's just bits of pages and things that I've gathered together. Let's take that out. Oh, it's got a poem on the back. And a place to put floating pockets so they don't float out of your journal. Pop them in a pocket. And there we go. So my lovelies, I think that is it. Thank you if you have stuck with me to the end. I really appreciate it. And if you have enjoyed this mayhem and chaos that really has ensued this time round, if you could please just give me a thumbs up and a like, because it just, as I always say, helps YouTube just to know that this little channel exists. And there might be a few other people that might like to come and watch the chaos and mayhem. And so until next time, my lovelies, thank you for watching. Bye bye.